cursed be the ground for our sake. Both thorns and thistles it shall bring forth for us. For out of the ground we were taken for the dust that we are, and to the dust we shall return. From the Dust podcast features people
That's a cool intro.
with experiences. Here they share their stories and testimonials about how God can move and change a person's life. Welcome to the From the Dust podcast. Take a listen. Open your hearts and ears. Here's your host, James Science.
Hello, and welcome to From the Dust podcast. I'm your host, James Science. And whatever you are and whatever you're doing, hope you're highly favored and highly blessed. If you have a story or testimony you would like to share, go ahead and hit me up at From the Dust podcast at outlook.com. That's From the Dust podcast at outlook.com. Well, today I have a very special guest, like always. She's a motivational speaker and a published author. Let's bring in ShannaStar. How are you?
I'm good, James. How are you?
I'm good. With this COVID, I'm good to be working still, stay busy.
Yeah.
I can't really complain.
That's true. Hey, that was a cool intro you had. I like that. I was over here grooving a little bit.
I had to go back and forth on like three different ones, but I found the right beat and the right note. So I was like, you know what? Let's just go with it. And it's been working so far, so it's good.
I like it. It's super cool.
Yeah, good. Not too many people agree to say, hey, I don't know if that's your style, but hey,
Only you know your style. Never listen to other people.
Yeah.
Rule number 1 in life.
Downers, haters, you know how that is.
A lot of people don't have your best interests at heart. Never ask their opinion.
So, basically just podcast is about, testimonies, life stories.
Yeah.
You want to share whatever. I give people the time to share that and to share what's on their heart too, because everybody has a message, everybody has a voice, everybody has a story they like to share. So let's just get into where'd you grow up? Where are you from?
I'm from Southern California. That's where I'm at currently. That's where I'm at right now. I moved to Houston, and then I was in Indonesia for a long time. And then I got back here, and I think I've been in California since the end of April. Or no, the beginning of April, or middle of April, something like that. Yeah.
Were you born and raised in California?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm in Central California, but I was born and raised in Southern California.
Okay.
In the valley, so like that's my home. That's where all my friends are and most of my family. But ain't nothing like the Southern California.
Nah. You know what? Actually, after being in Indonesia for so long, I didn't want to come back to America. I was on a small island with no cars. It was so small you could walk the island in an hour. And it was real life over there. The food was grown. They don't have chemtrails in the air. Their water isn't polluted with chemicals. It was life. It was real. It was super cool.
Must have been some experience. That's
yeah, it was great.
Many people have that opportunity to do that.
No. Yeah, I live my life very intuitively. And so wherever I'm guided to go, I'm always also provided the means to do so. I don't have a regular full-time job that I work. I was in the medical field for almost 20 years. And in 2018, the energy inside of me was so strong, saying like that you're supposed to do something more on this earth than work for this corporation. So I had to gather the strength and courage. I looked up to the sky and I was like, I know I'm here for more. So I'm ready to see what that more is, and I'm ready to put all my faith in that. And I just started listening. That voice in the back of your head that you ignore all the time because it's scary what it tells you? Well, I started listening to that voice and just taking leaps of faith, whether they made sense or not. And that's how now I've traveled more than I ever have in my life. I've done so much more now than I ever have in my life by listening to that voice.
Yeah, that little voice, like this podcast, I've always wanted to do something.
Yeah.
Like I've written dramas. I work with at-risk youth, gang prevention. But I always felt like there was always something more to do. And I heard the voice, but I put it off for a long time. Like, that's not me. I'm not, I've spoken in front of people and I performed in front of people.
Yeah.
I still was shy. But one day I just was tired of not just coming home from work and just doing pretty much nothing. So
normal stuff, quote unquote.
And it's one day I got the courage to do my first episode, and after that, our first episode, it's momentum is building, and I got a lot of good feedback. So it's like, this is what God wanted me to do, and I'm going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, that voice in our head, that's the real voice of God. God is not outside of us. God is love. How we've been taught, what we've been taught God is very different from what God really is. God is the energy of love, and that's what we're created with. Therefore, we are one with creation, and we have that power. And if we step into that power, that's how we move forward in life. And it's amazing, because when you listen to that voice and you step into that power, you do things you never thought you would do in this lifetime.
Right.
You maybe had dreams about it, but you never thought you would actually do it.
It feels good, because when I did, I started getting. I could always tell people, what is your motives behind this? What are you trying to reach? I'm just trying to reach that one person.
Right. Yeah.
I say it all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm going to continue to say it because people don't get it. But don't you want to make money? Don't you want to? My boy at work, don't you want to be famous? No, I'm famous enough in God's eyes. I just want to reach that one person.
Yeah.
So like I mentioned, you're an author. You want to talk to us about your book and where did that come from?
Yeah, the book is called People Like Us, but it's written, the title is written like a hashtag. So it's hashtag People Like Us, because I was actually using that hashtag on Instagram to bring all my quotes from the book, to have them all there. But where that came from was, in 2018, when I started having all these realizations that there was a whole different life available to us if we just let go of this one, there was one day in July where I opened my journal and I just started writing down like all these realizations I was having, because there was so many and it was so much information. I was like, I got to do something with this, So I started just make like a journal entry, and that journal entry turned into 30 written pages. And I was like, okay, this is crazy. Like, what am I supposed to do with this? Then the next day after I wrote all of that, I was getting the text message like every 30 minutes from a different person asking, can you hear me okay, sir?
Yeah, it's a little scratchy, but
okay.
It's still good, man.
Okay. Just I was getting a bunch of text messages from different people asking me questions that I had answers for, what I had just written the day before. So it was crazy how that worked out that way, right? And so every person that I answered from what I had written before responded like, oh my God, it just makes so much sense. Like, just like they needed to hear that specific information. And that's when I knew, okay, this needs to be put out to like many people. Many people are searching for what I just realized, And that's when I decided. Everything I wrote, I got on my computer and I just transferred it into my computer. I just started typing it all. And I only typed for maybe 1 month straight of everything I was going through. And that's where the book came from. It was all just my realizations just being put on paper. And then I said, I'm gonna publish it. And I held on to it. It was done in August, but I held on to it until December because I was unconfident. I was like, what if it's not good? What if I look stupid? What if I sound stupid? Things like this. And then from August to December, I just kept growing and evolving within myself. And by December, I said, nah, this needs to be put out. I wrote it for a reason. Everything is given to us for the purpose of bringing it to earth. So that's when I decided to publish it. So I had it published and it was out by January. And that's how that came about. But that's why I tell people, if you really want to know like my background, there's an intro to the book too. It's called People Like Us, the intro. And that has different information in it than the actual book. But if anyone really wants to know my background, like I put it all out there. I didn't hold nothing back. I put all my truths in those books.
I read it.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I did. I got to get the book now. It's oh yeah, it's real good.
Yeah, I learned, we can't be ashamed of ourselves. We can't be ashamed of our past. We can't be ashamed of anything. once we acknowledge our life and accept that that has been our life, that's where the freedom comes. And it was so free to put all of my truths, no matter how shameful they may have seemed, out to the world, because now in my life, nobody can bring anything up about me that I haven't already put out there. And if they do find something, I'll admit it and I'll own up to it, just because there's no shame. I have no shame because I love myself. I know who I am. I know what I'm here for, and there's nothing that I'm ashamed of.
But also it can help somebody.
Oh yeah. Oh, I get a lot of, I've gotten a lot of response. I still get a lot of response. It was released in 2019 and 2018, and I still get a lot of response from people saying they just got it, or they just caught wind of it, and that it's really, really helped them.
I know I think it's written in a woman's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
But as me as an open-minded person, has been through some things too,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, I can semi-relate, because I was always finding myself putting myself into relationships where I shouldn't step my toes into,
Yeah.
Yeah, as a man, I can relate, and it does come.
Yeah. And it's funny that you say that, because most of the people that I help, or that tell me that, or that reach out to me and say that I've helped them, are men. Most of my following is men. Yeah. Yeah. It's really crazy. But part of my message is, my message is very extensive. So if you want, we can make this like a weekly thing between us, because there's just a lot of knowledge to be shared. I can answer any questions you have personally, I'm here to do this. So if you want to do that, we can. But part of my message is, is that there's no division. Even between gender, there's no division. We were created all with one energy, and division was taught to us with gender. Yes, we have different things about us, and we are capable of doing different things, but division amongst genders, we're all the same. We all have the same energy. We're all the same creation. So a perspective like gender roles and how men should act and feel and how women should act and feel, that's all a lie. That's all false. And when that's acknowledged, people can accept messages that maybe are meant for them. I'm not talking about you, but there are some men out there that won't listen to women, because we've been subconsciously manipulated, even in the Bible, to suppress a woman's voice. So without knowing that you don't want to listen to what a woman has to say, you're not listening to what a woman has to say, So I speak real big on that too. There's really no division.
I tend to think some women know what's good for men better than men know it themselves,
Yeah.
And if you can't analyze that, and you're not much of a man, I think, I'll take not judgment but criticism from anybody. It doesn't matter who it is,
Mm-hmm.
As long as they're humble and true, and I'm man enough to, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. It doesn't matter what voice it comes from.
Yeah, that's right. Everybody that we cross in our lives, everybody whose paths we cross, they are all there to be a mirror to us. Everybody, even people you don't like, those are actually the ones that have the most lessons for you, because what you don't like about another person is that person's showing you something that resides within yourself that you may not want to acknowledge. I learned that the last relationship I was in, I learned that very strongly. I was like, well, why is he doing this and why is he doing that? When I learned that every person is to teach you something about yourself, I started looking at what I didn't like in him, and I was like, well, I'm not this and I'm not that. But when I was really honest with myself, yes, the things I didn't like him did reside in me. I just maybe didn't want to admit it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it makes sense.
So every person, every relationship, it's all meant for our evolution, our self evolution, our own heart, our own soul to grow.
I take it, everybody that comes into my life, whether it's years or months or days, I learn something. I take a lesson from them.
Yes. Yeah, that's what they're there for.
Oh, always. Whether it's knowledge or if it's pain, because like they say, no pain, no gain. You don't learn. You're not gonna learn. You're not gonna learn what to do different. And pain does teach you, and I can admit to that.
Yeah. I used to always think like, why does my life have to be so hard? Why do I have to always be the one going through things? Like, why can't I just be chill and have this easy life like all these other women? And like you just said, there's no growth in that. there's no growth in comfort and comfortability. And so everything that I went through, I wouldn't have all this knowledge to share that I have now if I didn't go through every single thing that I went through in my life. I wouldn't have the compassion for people that I have now if I didn't know how they felt. Because I can relate to anyone from the drug addict to the person with a lot of money just to do whatever they want. And everything in between. The person who drinks every day after work, the single mom, I can relate to everything. And so I have compassion for everybody in their situation.
And if you're comfortable, what I read in your intro, which is really written pretty good.
Thank you.
You were talking about relationships and how you were always going back to bad relationships. What effect did it have on you, and what lessons did you learn through that?
Well, I had to. It came to my last relationship. I text my friend Tasha, and I said, why do I always end up with liars? This was where I had the epiphany. And this is when I realized that I'm the common denominator in all my relationships. So there's something within me that is attracting these men. I couldn't just keep blaming the men for who they are. I'm the one common denominator in a relationship. You know what I mean? And so I texted my friend Tasha and I said, why do I always end up with liars? And I was expecting her to talk shit and say men are liars or something like this. And she didn't. She just said her only reply was, there's always a reason. And that simple reply, I looked in the mirror. I happened to be in the bathroom, getting ready or something. I don't remember. But that simple reply, when I read it, I looked in the mirror and I said, there's always a reason. And I was like, why? And I asked myself in the mirror, I was like, why do I always end up with liars? And the answer came immediately to me. Well, Shanna, you have lied many times in your life. And even though you don't think that you're lying about bad things, maybe you're lying to spare someone's feelings or whatever reason you're lying, you are a liar and you have been a liar. I used to lie to my mom all the time. So I had to really acknowledge that within myself. And that's when it clicked. If I'm a liar, why would I expect somebody who's open and honest and truthful to be with me? That's when I started realizing energy is attractive. What you are within yourself is what you attract. So if you're attracting the same type of person over and over, you have to turn within and say, what do I have within me that is attracting this? Because it's just a cycle and it won't end until you turn within and acknowledge that the very thing you're attracting resides within you somehow, some way. That's when I broke the cycle. Yeah.
You mentioned if you mentioned I wasn't an addiction, but you were kind of had a drug use.
Yeah, and that's not me. I've never had an addictive personality. I can do things and just stop them whenever I want. That's never me. But what I did was in my last relationship, he was into pills, taking pills like Oxy and Xanax. Pretty much he was in the music industry, and that's what the music industry is everybody does pills. Norcos, everything, And so when I got into a relationship with him, I didn't know that about him until he moved in with me. And then, I have to be very honest, though. There were red flags before he moved in with me that something was just a little off about him sometimes, but I couldn't put my finger on it. So I just ignored it when I should have really asked, yo, what's wrong with you? But so when he moved in with me, then I seen him crushing up pills and then about to snort them. And I was like, whoa, what is this? And I had never been around that. I never seen that before. I've seen other drugs and done other drugs before, just, to party and stuff. But I had never seen pills done. I didn't know anybody that took pills, nothing like that. So to see it, I was like, well, I didn't know what was going on. I was very naive about it. And he was like, oh yeah, it's Oxyon. It's just, get you high for a little, longer than weed does and this and that. And he was like, do you want to try? And I was like, yeah, sure. Because my whole life, unfortunately, I've been I'll try anything once just to see if I like it, And so I said, yeah, sure. Well, what happened was he did them every day and I didn't know it, but what I did was I allowed myself to lower myself down to his level just so that we could communicate with each other. You know what I mean? Like if I would have kept my energy high and who I am, I would have never been able to communicate with him because he was always way lower because he was high on pills. So what I did was instead of just getting rid of him, I lowered myself to meet him at his level. And that's where I really messed up my life. That was the worst 2 years of my life. And I've had some really bad years.
That was the worst, huh? Wow.
And that was the worst 2 years, yeah. Yeah.
How did you finally say it's enough and you had enough? What took you there?
You know, I'm going to turn the light on because it just keeps on getting darker and darker. Hold on. I think okay, so when I started doing all of this, I knew that voice in the back of my head. I've always had that voice very strong. I just always ignored it, right? That voice just kept coming saying like, this isn't you, this isn't you, this isn't you. Well, the moment when I knew that I had to really change my life was I got to a point where I didn't want to do the pills anymore, but now my body was dependent on them. So now I was doing them or else I would get sick because OxyContin is heroin. It's legal heroin. So basically I was addicted to heroin, not addicted to it, but my body needed it or I would have had that heroin come down and it's awful. Wow. So I was at the point where I was only doing them so I wouldn't be sick and I didn't want to do them anymore. Well, one day my ex, he was going to sniff something. And I didn't know what it was. It wasn't normal stuff because when he was sniffing this, it was really like real heroin. He would be like with his mouth open and everything, right? So he was about to do that. And I was like, what is that you're about to do? And he said, it's Coke. So me, to catch him in a lie, I thought to myself, he won't let me do that other stuff and make me sit there with my mouth open and stuff. And I was like, oh, it's Coke? Well, let me do some too. And I was waiting for him to stop me and say, okay, stop. No, it's not Coke, it's this, right? No, he never stopped me. He let me do it. And it was China White. Do you know what China White is?
No, what is it?
It's a mixture of fentanyl, OxyContin, and I don't know what else. And I couldn't believe that he let me do it, but that really showed me that he didn't care about me at all. But so I did it just to prove my point to him, and I actually overdosed.
Wow.
And I felt myself dying. I felt the life just slipping away from me, and it got to where I was out of my body looking down at myself. And I was and I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm dying. And I started having a conversation with myself. It was me, but it was like a higher me, you know, it was God, it was source of creation, universe, it's all the same thing. And I said, I need to wake up. I can't die like this. This isn't me. And the higher me said, no, you have to wake up. You're not supposed to go out like this. Your son can't survive without you on this earth. And you're not a drug addict. This isn't how you're supposed to go. And I said, I need help waking up. I can't wake up. I don't want to die. Then my higher self said, this is your last chance. We've given you many chances in this life. We've saved your life many times, which is true. I've had many times I should not have lived through things. And I told myself, this is your last chance. If you do anything from this point forward and you make any decision that harms your life, we cannot help you anymore. And I took that message to heart. And I woke up. Mm-hmm.
It happens. I was one of my buddies, Christian, who I interviewed, he kind of mentioned the same thing. He was on drugs and he would use drugs and drink and drive, and he didn't overdose, but the boys came there and said, don't be surprised if what you're doing kills somebody, you know? So
Ah.
that voice came in.
His warning was that he was going to kill somebody else, take another life. And
Don't be
yeah.
surprised if you're going to kill somebody, what you doing?
Yeah, those are all, I heeded that warning. I listened to that warning very clearly. And when I woke up, my ex was right there, like his eyes were all bugged out. He said, "Oh my God, I thought you were dead." And I said, "I was." And he just looked at me like, "What?" And I was like, you won't understand. So I didn't even tell him at that moment. I didn't tell him what I experienced because I knew like it was over his head. You know what I mean? He was high already, so he wasn't going to understand it. But he said that I wasn't breathing and he was trying to like wake me up. And he said that he was like, I was dead. So I took that warning, and that was November 2017. It was also the same month that November 2017 was crazy. November, I also got arrested for driving a stolen vehicle over $100,000. And so, yeah, so that happened, and I had a lot of time to think, and I knew I had to change things up. And then when the drug thing happened, that was my final like, okay, something has to give. And that's when I started seeking answers and saying, because I grew up in a religious family, but I always just didn't feel like 100% of my answers were in religion. I always felt like they were telling some truth, but not all the truth. And so, and I felt also like if it was true, why didn't I heed all of these warnings that, my whole entire life? There has to be a missing piece of information I felt like I was searching for. And that's when I started searching. It was like the end of 2017, first half 2018. And then finally in June 2018, it just hit me. It just hit me who I was, what I was here for. I have a friend I reached out to because I knew nobody else would understand what I was feeling. But this one person, I'm actually at her house right now, but I didn't speak to her for, what did we not speak for? Maybe like 2 years, Maddie, before I called you? 2 years. We didn't speak for 2 years. And she popped in my head when I was like, I need someone to talk to. She came to my head. So I hunted down her number. I texted her and I said, I don't know what's going on, but I know that you're the only one that will understand. We met at Starbucks. And I told her everything I was feeling and going through and everything that was starting to be revealed to me. And she started crying a little bit. And she was like, you remember who you are now, like you're learning who you are. And she started just giving me all kinds of information. And I just ran with it, man. I said, now I can serve my purpose on this earth. Now I know what I'm going to do.
That's what I like to hear, because I like to hear the lowest points. And now what you learn and what you had to learn through those dark days and bad days, and what you're doing now. So what are you doing now?
Oh, man. So right now, okay, let me start with this. When you listen to that voice in the back of your head, that is your intuition, that's your guidance on this earth. And you give up, I have given up control of my own life and my own wants and my own plans for my life to follow this voice, right? So when I came back from Indonesia, I was only supposed to be in America for 2 weeks. And then I had a trip planned to Spain. Well, the coronavirus and all that canceled all trips, so it kept me in America. So I had been going back and forth between California and Houston. But what I always tell people is we have such a purpose on this earth that even our presence is needed in certain places at certain times. So in me listening to that voice, I am in certain cities at certain times for reasons that I don't know until I get there. And so that's kind of what I'm doing right now. I'm in California. I have 3 books actually to publish. And I'm working on another one. Like a lot of the quotes that you see on my Instagram right now, you'll see ones that say the real word of God. That's the next project I'm working on. And it's just coming really, really fast. So that's what I'm doing. I'm sitting here in California just typing and going to cities wherever I feel like I need to go for the weekend and things like that. Our presence is very necessary for necessary reasons. Yeah.
I got to get out. I was writing a bit.
Uh-huh.
I grew up a pastor's kid.
Uh-huh. Oh, really?
I did, and
Oh man.
I've there's a lot of things that I've seen, experienced, not just in the ministry wise, but
Right.
with me wanting to see life and experience life.
Right.
A lot of lessons, and not many people talk about.
Mm-hmm.
So I started, typing, but I got not discouraged. I got a little distracted.
Mm-hmm.
So I was doing things I shouldn't have, but
Yeah.
and just reading, and having what you say is making me realize, I got to get on it. People need to hear this. People need to read it.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah, we're here with so much creativity here for a reason. And if we just really know that it's all for a reason, if you scroll through my Instagram, I try to be everything I speak, I'm an example of, just to show people that everything I'm saying is real. It's not just me trying to be like, oh, la, la, love and light, I'm spiritual. No, I'm not that person at all. I speak the truth. And a lot of people don't like it because people just want to feel good. And sometimes the truth doesn't feel good. But when you acknowledge it, then there's freedom, and that's when you feel good. But if you scroll through my Instagram, you'll see there's videos that I edit, there's pictures I edit, there's quotes that I type, there's videos I speak, I have a podcast as well. There's like I do everything that I'm guided to. I wrote a children's book and illustrated it myself. I don't draw. It's illustrated very childlike, but it looks super dope. And I do everything that's going to be the next thing I publish. But I just do everything I'm guided to do to show people there's no limit. Just because you have a podcast doesn't mean that that's all you have to put your time into. If you want to do other things, do them, because there's answers when you unlock your creativity. When you allow yourself to do other things, answers come about yourself to yourself, and it's amazing.
Yeah, I better get started right now, boy.
You're getting excited, huh?
That's what like I've always had an interest in people's lives and their stories.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, that's when I noticed. I don't know how I came across it, but it came across it, so I started following. But I seen what you would speak. You would mention God, but you would all mention like real life situations, and that's
Right.
coming to real life. You can be a believer, and you can say this and that about God, but when you speak the truth and speak real world life,
Yeah.
you're a real person. Like
Yeah.
I want to get into like this podcast. I want to be about what it is, centered around the stories, but like
Right.
also had different topics. Like we can get into right now. What do you think about what's going on right now with this rioting and protests?
Oh man, I have a lot of videos on my Instagram right now about it. A lot of things I've been speaking about it. It's part of the bigger plan, man. That's all. I have all these videos on my YouTube that go back to the beginning of time. Like, it's not really a fast answer, but I'll just sum it up, as short as I can. This physical life is a physical life, but we are energetic beings. We inhabit this physical body as a vessel to bring energy to this earth. And there's only two existent energies on this earth. There's love, that is the energy of creation, that is God. And then there's the opposite of God, which is represented as quote unquote the devil, which is the energy of fear. Every emotion that is not love comes from a root of fear. So that's it. It's love versus fear, good versus evil, creation versus control. So when you look at it like that it's creation versus control, you can then start seeing what's going on right now from a higher perspective. It has nothing to do with color, nothing to do with race, culture, nation, bloodline, nothing to do with our physical appearance at all. What it has to do with is minorities, all minorities, we're considered minorities. All minorities possess the most power. We are the most powerful inhabitants of this earth. To keep this earth suppressed, minorities have to be suppressed by the energy opposite of creation. We possess the energy of creation. We possess the energy of love. It's who we are. And that's where our power is. But to keep us from our power, we have to be kept in fear and controlled by fear, which is anger, hatred, and everything else. That's why all of this is being done. It's all part of a plan. It's not being done to kill Black people and to kill this and kill that. It's done to create fear and anger, because as long as there's fear and anger existing on this earth, the earth is controlled by the energy opposite of God. The earth is controlled by the devil. The only way to beat what's going on right now is to rise to an energy higher than they're existing at. The ones that control the earth right now, all, who controls the earth, there's families, and I don't like to say white people because, again, it's not about color, but that's who's being used to bring this plan to fruition. And they exist at this energy right here, which is fear. This is what they're controlling us with. So when we get angry and all of that, we're giving them more power. Now, love is up here. If we rise to this energy, they can't reach us. And this is where our power is. When we individually turn within and start loving ourselves, that's the only energy we can bring to this earth, and they can't touch us. And that's the answer to all of this. Tell people, don't silence your voice, have a voice, but make sure that the energy behind that voice is only the energy of love. We cannot have fear, we cannot have hate, we cannot have anger. We cannot change the energy of this earth currently with the same energy. We have to transform it with the higher energy, and that is love. That's God. That's what the world is missing.
Right, love. It's true. Can you imagine what we could do as a minority if everybody just came together?
That's it.
That's
it. That's why division has been created, because as long as we're divided, we're controlled. And that's my message. I speak to everybody. This message has been spoken throughout our history. Martin Luther King, everybody spoke about love. Bob Marley, that's the only thing that's going to win. But what people need to realize is that the only way to step into genuine divine love is to first give it to yourself. We've been taught not to love ourselves. We've been taught not to like ourselves. We've been taught that we're born sinners, so that would subconsciously manipulate us into thinking we're not worthy of love and acceptance and forgiveness. Once we let all of that go, we can start seeing who we are and the truth about this life. It's all love. That's it.
True story.
Yeah.
I've always ask my guests, or the people that watch the YouTube videos or that listen, if a man or woman is experiencing or is going through what you went through, is the relationship wise or just the hard times, what kind of word can you give them, motivation and word just to get through and how to overcome their situations?
To have faith in yourself. That's my number one thing. Is we've been taught that to put our faith in sources outside of ourselves, and that keeps us feeling less than what we really are. I want every individual to know that they're on this earth with a purpose, and everything that they experienced, any hardships that they go through, it's all for a reason, a very big reason. Before we come to this earth, we're souls, before we come to this earth, we make agreements of what we're going to learn when we come here. Those of us that have the hardest battles have the biggest purpose on this earth. We have the biggest lessons to learn, but we have to realize that it's all within us. I can't leave it to a source outside of myself. Like a lot of people ask Jesus for help. What I tell people is ask yourself for help. You are the one to make the conscious decisions to get you through these situations. When I realized that the power all lied within myself, that I was part of God, I was one with God, I was limitless. I realized that I was limitless and nothing would be stronger than me unless I allowed it to. And that's why I tell people that the answer to every problem in humanity is love for self. When you find love for self, there is no energy stronger than that. And then that's all the energy that you exude to the world, and that's how we change the world. But for people to get through things, they have to see that they're worthy of getting through it. They have to forgive themselves, see their own worth, and love themselves. That's how they'll get through it.
I agree. Where can people, listeners, where can they find your book and
well, I have a website. It's called ShannaStar.com. So ShannaStar.com. And on there is all of my links. My book is on Amazon. So if you just search ShannaStar, that's my author name. Everything is under ShannaStar. YouTube, ShannaStar. Not Shanna, there's a girl named ShannaStar Brazil. That's not me. She does other stuff. I don't think she writes books. She does stuff for the body. So, but my book is on Amazon. Goodreads, I have a lot of blogs on Goodreads. All of my links are, I don't even remember everything else that I have, but all of my links are on my website. And on my website, like every day, updating videos on there, putting some podcasts on there. And, I blog on there too. So yeah, but Instagram is my only social media that I'm active on every single day. Instagram, that's where my big following is, on Instagram.
I'm gonna put the links in the description.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
I don't do that because not everybody I talk to has do as much as you do, but this would be a good.
Yeah, I can send them to you if you want. Just let me know which ones you want, and I'll send them to you.
Oh, all of them.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, I wanna thank you for your time and for your work.
Thank you for reaching out.
Oh yeah, I know. This is a little bit different from what I do, but I know everyone that I have on reaches somebody.
Yes, that's all that we're here to do. Mm-hmm.
I want to thank you for your time. We'll call that episode, and maybe we can do this again. Different topics, different situations.
Yes, sir. I'm here for it. You just let me know when.
Oh, for sure. You have a good one.
Thank you.
Let me throw out my intro, and we'll call it an episode.
All right, cool. I was drinking my tea on camera.
Very fancy.
Stepping up on his blemish and devour the nemesis. Never will the devil be victorious, so ahead of this, I'm ahead of the get it. I manifest and possess though. I'm willing to be a vessel and my bars be edible. So incredible, God is able to conquer false idols. It's vital you read the Bible. King undeniable. He takes drug fiends out the pit of hell. Looking us for a bigger fix than the judge who took Manny's belt. He redeems well if you calling out for help. My flow is pretty skit, so it speaks to myself. I elevated, then all of a sudden hated. I made it, I'm on fire like my body's being cremated. I'm here to replicate God, faith takes action. I'm just the opening act for the main attraction. I'm an addict for making it happen. Rapping just happens to be an instrument to offer praise God in heaven. Steps to my faith, man, I'm walking with a purpose. Eyes wide open when I see the devil lurking. I put it down for the most high. One love, one God, and one Christ.
Therefore, if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. All things are passed away. Behold, all things become new.
That's our episode. I want to thank you again, Shanna, for your time.
Thank you.
Do this again sometime. If you have a story or testimony you would like to share, go and hit me up at fromthedustpodcast@outlook.com. That's fromthedustpodcast@outlook.com. Voices need to be heard. Stories need to be told. Have a good one. Good night.